It is absolutely mind-boggling that in 2024, we find ourselves in a situation where the National Institutes of Health, NIH, has decided to halt all research into the harmful effects of cell phone radiation. This decision is nothing short of a scandal. Let's not mince words here. The government has chosen to turn a blind eye to a growing public health crisis while continuing to pour billions into defense budgets. How can this be justified? In a stunning and inexplicable reversal, the National Toxicology Program, NTP, of the NIH has quietly announced that it will cease studying the biological and environmental impacts of cell phone radio frequency radiation. This decision is nothing short of irresponsible, especially considering the NTP's own decade-long $30 million studies that found compelling evidence of cancer, heart damage, and DNA damage associated with exposure to cell phone radiation at levels comparable to those experienced by Americans today. A glaring abdication of responsibility. The NTP's decision to stop this crucial research is a blatant abdication of responsibility. While the U.S. Department of Defense continues to investigate the effects of wireless radiation, the civilian government has decided to ignore the issue. This is in stark contrast to actions taken by other nations. Just last year, the NTP declared in its 2023 fact sheet that it would perform follow-up studies to better understand the long-term effects observed in animal studies. So what happened? The sudden halt to these studies raises more questions than it answers. The NTP's explanation, that the research was technically challenging and more resource-intensive than expected, is not only vague but also deeply unsatisfactory. The decision to halt this research is absurd, especially when considering the mounting evidence of harm from non-thermal effects of RF radiation. Infertility clinics advise men to keep cell phones away from their bodies due to evidence linking RF exposure to low sperm count, poor sperm quality, decreased testosterone, and damage to the testes. Studies have also linked carrying a cell phone in one's bra to an increased risk of breast cancer. The list of adverse health effects is long and growing, yet our government has chosen to ignore it. Whether the government continues the research or not, we are all part of a massive, uncontrolled experiment. Billions of people worldwide are exposed to ever-increasing levels of wireless radiation. Children, with their rapidly developing brains, are particularly vulnerable. This pervasive exposure makes it difficult, but not impossible, to discern the effects of wireless radiation on human populations. It is the height of arrogance and folly to stop researching this major environmental pollutant when we have ample evidence of its harm. Refusing to acknowledge the mounting evidence of non-thermal effects of RF radiation is akin to holding on to outdated scientific beliefs, like the flat Earth theory. Just as these ideas were eventually replaced by more accurate understandings, the notion that non-ionizing radiation's only impact is thermal is facing a similar reassessment. Stubbornly clinging to outdated views in the face of new evidence is not only scientifically dishonest, but also dangerous. If the civilian government has run out of money for this essential research, there is an easy remedy. Impose a nominal fee, say 2 cents per month, on every device owner, internet provider, and manufacturer. Use these funds to train scientists, carry out independent monitoring, and conduct ongoing research. Surely it is worth a few pennies a month to understand how wireless radiation affects our health and how to mitigate its impact on humans, birds, bees, and trees. This is a call to action. We cannot allow our government to ignore the potential health risks of wireless radiation. We must demand transparency, continuous research, and stricter regulations. It is our responsibility to protect future generations from the harmful effects of our technological advancements. Let's not wait until it's too late. What is the National Toxicology Program, NTP, and what was its role in studying cell phone radiation? The NTP is part of the National Institutes of Health, NIH, and focuses on evaluating environmental substances for potential health hazards. It conducted a decade-long, $30 million study that found significant health risks associated with cell phone radiation, including cancer, heart damage, and DNA damage. Why did the NTP decide to stop researching the effects of cell phone radiation? The NTP stated that the research was technically challenging and more resource-intensive than expected, and that no additional studies are planned. However, this explanation has raised more questions than it answers, particularly given the significant findings of their previous studies. What are the known health risks associated with cell phone radiation? Health risks associated with cell phone radiation include increased risks of cancer, heart damage, DNA damage, infertility issues, and breast cancer. There is also evidence linking radiation exposure to neurological disorders and developmental issues in children. How does cell phone radiation potentially affect children differently from adults? Children are more vulnerable to cell phone radiation due to their rapidly developing brains and thinner skulls, which can absorb radiation more easily. Prolonged exposure can potentially affect their cognitive development and overall health. Why is it important to continue research on cell phone radiation? Continued research is crucial to fully understand the long-term health effects of cell phone radiation. It can help in developing safer technologies, informing public health policies, and providing guidelines to minimize exposure and risks. What actions have other countries taken regarding cell phone radiation? The European Union funds multidisciplinary studies on the topic, and France actively monitors radiation levels from cell towers and phones. France has also implemented regulations to protect vulnerable groups like teenagers and pregnant women from excessive radiation exposure. What can individuals do to reduce their exposure to cell phone radiation? Individuals can reduce exposure by using speakerphone or hands-free devices, keeping phones away from their bodies, avoiding carrying phones in pockets or bras, limiting phone use by children, and using radiation shielding products. What are the non-thermal effects of RF radiation? Non-thermal effects of RF radiation include changes in DNA methylation patterns, gene expression, oxidative stress, and potential disruptions in cellular processes. These effects can occur at radiation levels that do not produce significant heating. Why is there skepticism about the non-thermal effects of RF radiation? Some scientists and industry stakeholders have traditionally believed that non-ionizing radiation only causes harm through heating, thermal effects. However, mounting evidence suggests that non-thermal effects also pose significant health risks, challenging this outdated view. How can the public advocate for more research and regulation on cell phone radiation? The public can advocate by raising awareness, supporting organizations that fund independent research, lobbying for stricter regulations, and demanding transparency from device manufacturers and service providers. Implementing a small fee on devices to fund ongoing research and monitoring is one proposed solution.